4 simple words. Seems like an innocuous enough phrase. What do you want? But tone of voice and body language and facial expression can make it mean many things. Infant in a high chair. Mom is trying to feed this infant, and the baby bangs on the tray and points and says, He can't talk yet. And mom's looking and saying, oh, there's cereal over there. Scatters a few Cheerios on the tray, and the baby sweeps them away and says, The sippy cup is over there. Let me try that. Put the sippy cup on the tray, and the baby throws, And out of frustration, mom says, what do you want? A dad and his teenage son have been on the out for weeks. It's really bad between them right now. And the teenager finally doesn't know what to do, so he goes to Dad, knocks on the door of the room that Dad stays in. Dad comes to the door, opens it, and looks at him and says, what do you want? Five-year-old, cute as a button, sitting on Santa's lap. And Santa asks, what do you want? Same 4 words, but with a whole world of different meaning associated with it because of tones of voice and body language and facial expression. In each instance, the person asking the question does not know what the other person wants. They have to deal with this person before them, but they don't know exactly how to proceed until they find out what the other person wants. Jesus, in asking this question, was doing something a little different. He wasn't asking to get information for himself. He was probing these 2 men. Jesus often asked a question that got to the very heart of his situation. Crippled man lying by the pool, and Jesus asked him, do you want to get well? The disciples in that storm-driven fishing boat, fearing for their lives, and after he calms the sea down, says to them, where was your faith? These 2 men he turns to and asks, what do you want? We don't know what his facial expression or tone of voice or body language communicated, but we do have the word that he used, and we have it in Greek, which gives us some indication of what he might have meant when he asked. Jesus asks the question partly in the sense of wondering, why are you 2 guys following me? But more importantly, he wants to know what it is they want out of life. What are you looking for? Jesus wanted to know if they were coming because they were just curious about this guy that John had mentioned, or if they were really motivated by a desire to know him. The song we sang earlier today, As the Deer, beautiful. It's one of the older contemporary songs. It's not quite so contemporary anymore. But this is the picture we typically get with this song. There's a deer quenching its thirst. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God. That's the picture we often get, and it's up on the screen often. The picture we ought to be getting is the next one. This deer is dying of thirst. It is aching. It can't stand this thirst anymore. The only thing it's focused on right now is getting some water. Just some water. Nothing else has the same impact on this deer right now as the thought of getting water. That's the picture of the soul that wants to know God. In Psalm 63, David said, "O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My body longs for you in a dry and weary land where there is no water." This deer's throat is parched. The psalmist's soul was parched. I want to know you. Not just when I have a few minutes on a Sunday morning, but in the very core of my being, I want to know you. St. Augustine said, "You have made us for yourself, Lord, and our hearts are restless until they find rest in you." There's a beautiful picture in one of the Psalms of a child leaning against mom. This child is maybe 3. It's not so little that it's constantly fussing, always wants something, and it's not old enough that it needs to be running around all the time. It's just content to be with mom. That picture is the picture of a soul that has found that kind of contentment in Jesus. That longing that Augustine described is less about curiosity. Gee, I wonder what Jesus' hair was really like. Was he really as rugged and handsome as some pictures have shown? A couple of years ago, Ron Price showed me a picture of an amalgam of conjecture about a Middle Eastern man about the time of Jesus and what Jesus might have actually looked like. He looks like a terrorist. Not the picture that we have of him. So we may be curious, what did he look like? What was his voice like? Did he have short hair? Did he have long hair? A lot of things we're curious about. This longing is not that kind of curiosity. It's more like a craving for sustenance. And so he's asking them, what do you want? What are you looking for? Because he knows exactly what they need. He wants to find out if they're ready to really look. And when he asks that question, they respond, "Where are you staying?" Seems like an odd question to ask. It sounds almost as if they are so nervous about being with this guy, they came up with something because they had no idea what to say. Where are you staying? But the fact is, they weren't actually asking for his address. They didn't want to know where he was hanging out. They wanted a chance to talk to him, just the 3 of them, and get to know him better. This really was the deep desire of their hearts. We want to know you better. And so he tells them, come and see. Come check out my place. We'll talk. Psalm 34, verse 8 says something that really doesn't make sense. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Shouldn't it say look and see? I can look at Chris up in the sound booth, and I can see that he's there. His glasses, his shirt. Look and see that Chris is there. But he can stay way up there, and I can have absolutely nothing to do with him, and I can still look and see. This verse says something very different. Taste and see. I've mentioned before that when Lindsay was little, we wanted her to try something new, and the thing she would always ask, am I going to like this? With that very tone and that face, kind of expecting, I want to know before I invest myself in this thing that it's going to be okay. Once I put it in my mouth, it's too late. The invitation from the Lord is, find out for yourself what Jesus is like. Taste. Don't just look at a distance and realize he's the Savior of the world, he's the Son of God who died for the sins of the world. Don't just look at a distance and say, I put my faith in Jesus when I was 15 years old. I may have knelt even at this very altar and I accepted him as my Savior. Now, taste for yourself. Come taste and see, discover for yourself, not at a distance, but firsthand. They stayed with him beginning at what the Bible calls the 10th hour. That's about 4 p.m. And they were with him for a while. It's very possible they were with him overnight because the Jewish understanding of a day begins at sundown. That feels strange, but it's how Genesis describes the day. Evening and morning was the first day. Evening and morning was the second day. In the Jewish thinking, the day begins at sundown when God begins his work and continues through the next day when we continue the work that God has begun. They were with him for a while, long enough to become convinced this is the one. So before Andrew went and told Peter about Jesus, Andrew found out about Jesus, had a firsthand experience with him. We support Susquehanna Valley Pregnancy Services because we're convinced that human life is not only precious, it is sacred. It is a gift from God. And there will be a number of young men and women, older, middle-aged young men and women, that SVPS will touch that we will never see. So we need to support them. But the fact is, day to day, you will bump into people who need you. Need you. Perhaps you don't have the specialized training that Cece has, but you do have relationships. And if those relationships are informed because you've been with Jesus and he's so filling you and so soaking into your life that you're beginning to look like him and sound like him. Jesus called us into that kind of relationship. So this morning, he is also asking you and me, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? His invitation is, come and see. Come and spend some time with me and find out. One of the most terrifying experiences when I was in college and attending the now defunct Dauphin EC Church was to get evangelistic training and then to go onto the streets of Harrisburg witnessing to people. And one evening, I was with someone else. We always went in teams, and we approached a young couple, and they had a Rottweiler with them, which gave me pause to begin with. And I basically stopped this couple and began to talk to them about what their relationship with the Lord was. And the man said, I'm Jewish. I stopped cold. I had no idea what to do with that. Nobody ever told me what to do with someone who's Jewish. And that was the point that I discovered. If I haven't got the kind of relationship with Jesus that allows me to talk very naturally about him with people, all the training in the world will not prepare me to be with someone who needs him in a way that they see Jesus and it opens doors for me to tell them about him. What do you want? You want to be rid of this darn head cold? You want to be out of the hospital? You want the diabetes to settle down? You want your kids to stop running wild? What do you want? Jesus is saying, come and find out from me the deep place in your heart that only I can fill. Come and see. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Pray with me.